Minister for Education, Heritage and Arts, Dr. Mahendra Reddy, the Commissioner Central, the Nausori, the Permanent Secretary of Education, the Principal of Vunimono Secondary School, and the respective principals of the other schools represented here today, and members of the staff of those schools, the staff of the Ministry of Education, ladies and gentlemen, students of the secondary schools represented here. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for this unexpected occasion. I started this work on HIV/AIDS after we had the visit of Michel Sidibe. As you know, he visited Fiji in March. In fact, we had a workshop at Government House on the 8th of March 2004. Where he spoke to all the stakeholders regarding HIV and AIDS. Of course, I'd been involved with HIV and AIDS for quite some time before that. When I was in the Army, when I was a diplomat, and when I became the Speaker of the House. But during that workshop that we had at Government House, on the 8th of March, I had invited the head boys and head girls of several secondary schools in Suva and outside of Suva to be there at that, on that occasion. And Michel Sidibe noticed that they were there because they were there in uniform. And he asked me, who are these? And I told him who they were. And he said, oh, that's a good idea. That's a very good idea. I said, yeah, I intend to visit all the secondary schools. Their secondary schools first, and then the other secondary schools in the Fiji group. And he said, you have a lot of secondary schools. I said, yes, we have a lot of secondary schools. He said, I hope you visit all of them. I said, I will. And when I finish them, I will let you know. So, in this work, you have to think outside of the box. You've got to think outside of the box. And that's why I took that challenge. That if you look at those who are affected around the world, HIV and AIDS, the most affected groups are the 14 to 29 age group and the 30 to 39 age group. These two groups in UN parlance are known as the youth groups. The most sexually active, the bulk of the education and the working population, and the most vulnerable. These two groups. And the pattern is the same all over the world. It doesn't change. And that was why I looked at the pattern. I said, that's the group I need to target. Target other groups as well, over and above that, but these are the main groups. So it fitted in with the secondary school. That's why I made that decision. Now, when it came to visiting the first secondary school, there was much debate on which secondary school I should visit. Some people who thought that I would go to QVS, being an ex-QVS student, some thought I would go to Levuka. public school, being an ex-student of that. But I was persuaded by my daughter. She said, you should go to St. Joseph first. I said, why? And she said, well, it's a Catholic school, the first thing, and it's a girls' school. And you're going to talk about HIV/AIDS, you'll see how good you are if you can face the girls of St. Joseph. And I wasn't thinking on those lines. She said that as a matter of concern for my welfare, not of what I was going to say. I knew what I was going to say. So she said, well, just see how good you are. And I did. I said, all right, I'll do St. Joseph. And it was arranged. And when I went to St. Joseph, I was met by Sister Genevieve. And those of you in education know about Sister Genevieve. Whether you're Methodist, whether you're Hindu, Muslim, or Catholic, Church of England, everybody knows Sister Genevieve. A great lady, great teacher, great social worker. And her words to me was, welcome, tell the girls how it is. And that's her words. And I was expecting something else, but he said, just tell the girls how it is. So that was how it started. And I spoke to the students there, and I carried on to other schools. But I began with the students. The parents, the numbers of parents who came, as I went around the schools, the numbers of parents who joined the school increased. But that's the thing about HIV and AIDS. It's not a subject that you should speak to just one group in isolation. You have to speak to the family group. That's the essence of it, because it affects the whole family. And if you can do that, you get the message across. I know some parents, some still do, were reluctant to hear about you talking about HIV and AIDS and the sexual connotations with their children around. But as parents, we've got to face the facts. We've got to face the facts. Sometimes we think we know better than our children do. We don't. They know as much as we do, and sometimes more. And this is the thing, and if we can work together, we'll do even better. I've completed my visit to the secondary school, except for one school here in Nausori. The thing is, as I've gone around, I felt that there was more knowledge in the schools about HIV/AIDS than what I had anticipated. And let me tell you this, I was asked some very penetrating questions about HIV and AIDS. And you have to prepare yourself, because they think that you're the authority, and I always tell them I'm not the authority. I'm here to come and persuade you not to get HIV and AIDS. But I had to educate myself further and deeper into HIV and AIDS. So that is the story about my visits to the school. But it's an unending campaign. The campaign on HIV and AIDS, once you get into the HIV/AIDS campaign and you know the effects that it can cause, you have to stay with it. I'll stay with the HIV and AIDS work for the rest of my life. That I know. And because the thing with HIV and AIDS is you have to aim for eradication. You have to aim for eradication. Eradication is what you go for. Now, some countries, some of the worst countries in the world, with the worst records, were once like us, with low prevalence. Low prevalence. But what did they do? They ignored the stark warning signs and the advice of experts. And as a result, they are paid dearly in lives because of that. When they reacted, it was too late. But they did react. And what we have to aim for, we have to aim for eradication. That must be the aim and nothing else. The main enemy on HIV and AIDS advocacy is complacency. That's the enemy. Because the countries like Thailand, Uganda, whose HIV/AIDS records were in the 30s, the percentage of population were in the 30s and climbing. When they got together and started reducing the HIV/AIDS figures and those who were affected by HIV/AIDS, they brought it down to single figures. Once that happened, they stood back and said, we can do it, we've done it. But HIV/AIDS rebounded. Nature is unkind. When it sees that you drop your guard, back. And that's what happened to Uganda and Thailand. Their AIDS figures came down, they became complacent, it went up again. It's gone down again now. But that's a lesson to all of us. And the lesson is the same all over the world. The thing about advocacy is we know what works and what does not work. We know what works and what does not work. And that's what we have to do. And I've met so many interesting people working on HIV and AIDS. As you know, we still don't have a cure. On a number of occasions, we've come very close to a cure. And I hope that we'll find a cure for HIV and AIDS during my lifetime, but particularly during your lifetime, you younger ones here. The work goes on. There's billions and billions and billions of dollars and many scientists who are working on finding a cure for HIV and AIDS. But for us, in a small country like Fiji, we have to play our part and do that. And the thing is, my message has always been to secondary school students, don't get HIV and AIDS. It's not worth it. I've said that message so many times around Fiji. And that's what we have to do. It's an ongoing thing. It never stops. It never stops until we eradicate HIV and AIDS. And if we work together, we can get there. And what I like about the HIV and AIDS advocacy now, that we have the churches on side, the provincial councils are on side, the Tekina councils are on side, the Vanua is on side. Let me tell you this, when I started, they say, oh, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. And those were the walls that were being put up. Those were the walls that were being put up. I know the Ministry of Education, the provincial councils, Thai level provincial council, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. I used to go to the Thai level provincial council meeting, and you all know the pamphlet for HIV and AIDS. It's a red pamphlet, right? You can't miss it. So when I used to go to that, when they were all seated there, I'd go in and I'd call the orderly, take this, put it on in front of all the delegates who were sitting here. They're all seated there. And when it's placed there, no one looks down at it. Just keep on looking up at the chair. And then eventually he looks down at it and sees it, takes it under the briefcase. And then when I met them at morning tea, they used to say, it's going to work for you. Saralengati ko len vono. Do sinikilati ko kemuto. Yero mai bio. They come and see me because they're in trouble. And that's what I said to the churches. Your flock are in trouble. Do something about it. And I always related the parable of the lost sheep. The shepherd was worried about the sheep that was lost, not the one that was once away in the fold. And that was the thing. We've come a long way, but we still got a long way to go. And all of us here, we have to work together on that. And I know that many have asked the question if I'm going to continue with working on HIV/AIDS. Yes, I'll continue with that because it's a worthwhile thing to do. And when you're working with HIV and AIDS, you're working to save lives. That's what you're working, to save lives. And the bulk of the education and the working population is the one that you have to concentrate on. And if we can do that, we'll get there. With there are many facets of advocacy. Mother to child is one of the most important facets that we have to look at. We're successful in that, Fiji. We can be even more successful because as far as I'm concerned, in this day of modern medicine, there's antiretroviral. There should not be mother to child transmission. Should not be. But we still have it because people, why? Because expectant mothers are late in going to the clinics and not wishing to take a test. Now there's more encouragement for people to take a blood test to find out if they have HIV and AIDS or not. So it's working, it's coming down, but it should be nil. So that is really the message I want to give to you today, that our advocacy on HIV and AIDS never stops. It only stops when we eradicate HIV and AIDS. But I want to thank you all most sincerely for today. It's a pleasant surprise when I was asked to come here. Now, some of you saw me when I was sitting up here, and I did this. Now, that is an army signal. Because my staff, wherever I am, they should keep an eye on me. When I do this, it means I want someone quickly, and I want something quickly. So when I did that to that person, he knew I wanted a pen. Because my ADC is supposed to carry a pen with him, but didn't have one. And when I saw the program that I might have to make a speech, I had to jot down a couple of things. So that is, when you see me doing that, on another time, you look around, someone's going to be running along to do something. But Minister, Kumai, PS, teachers, students, it's a great pleasure being with you here today, and I'm greatly honored and touched. Thank you.